slides in, so it's probably my mistake. So let's keep going. Let's talk a little bit about the methodology and how we figured that out.
Yeah, so one of the reasons, apart from the fact that we are great whole brain thinkers, one of the reasons why Jim came to us was that we, as WPP and Middle Brown, own the largest brand database in the world. So over 30 countries, over 400 categories, over 10 years. And we're able to really understand which of those brands that actually created both a great bonding with the consumer as well as grew that financial value. If you go to the next slide.
I'm trying to catch up with myself here, Ryan. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Here we go.
So that methodology basically was understand the brand equity and how people bond with brands, then understand brand financial value and actually come up with that top list.
So let's give it a go, Chris. See if we can play that video, please.
You're becoming so clear on brands that are really doing it. They're delivering results, they're activating higher ideals, they're improving life. Which ones do you see happening and really doing that well now?
I would highlight a few different brands, and maybe these will be a little bit unexpected. Many are in the book, of course, but Petrobras, which is a large energy company in Brazil, largest company in the Southern Hemisphere. Their ideal is the sustainable development of Brazil's resources for the good of the people of Brazil and worldwide. The little brand in San Francisco, Method, which took on P&G and Unilever, a lot of the big ones in house care and home care and cleaning. They're building their first factory now. And how they're approaching their factory and how they're building it and thinking about it and working with the community, it's so ideals-based. Big companies, IBM, just for the last 10, 12 years through 3 CEOs has been about smarter planet and innovating against that. I think the story of business is changing. And there is a new narrative, there's new behaviors, there's new activity. If we don't stay up with it, we will be obsolete. The businesses that will succeed and grow are those that are part of this new story.
Mari, let's go to some of your thoughts on, we'll go to the next slide, some of your thoughts about the brands that you guys uncovered in your data bank.
Yeah, and I think that we have a page with the 4 brands that we want to talk about. By the way, just a sense check about whether these brands actually grow value. A slice from the book and from the study that we did. If you spent $100 on the Standard & Poor between 2000 and 2010, 2011, you'd actually have $100. And if you spent that $100 with brands that actually truly believe in ideals, you would have $400. So that's a massively huge return on investment for really, and it shows that the financial markets actually bear out that.
That's the next slide as well.
And a question that Chris had is, like what is the reason that ideals really work? And I think the real reason is that we've moved from a place of tangibles to a place of intangibles as a society, right? If you think about the categories that did not exist 10 years ago, if you think about the relationships, the technology, so everything is becoming so quickly complex that value is not anymore in factories and in chairs and in tables and in inventory, but it's actually in relationships, it's in property rights, it's in things that actually don't really have a tangible form. And brands is the biggest part of that. And so people are looking for meaning, and if you can tap into that way of looking into meaning and for meaning, what we say is that it's not about what people buy, it's what people buy into. So a couple of examples that we chose. I love the Pampers case. Jim spoke about it, so I don't really need to say too much. But one of the things that I find amazing is how brand ideals really drive innovation. So if you are a company that sells dry, you're selling the driest diaper. If you're a company that sells babies development, then what does that mean for your innovation? And if you think about the innovation pipeline of P&G, it's all about the swaddlers, which are different from the cruises, which are cut differently so the baby can start walking, which is different from the pull-ups, which is all about training the baby. So really, it fuels the whole innovation pipeline. The next one is Red Bull, which is a fantastic brand and a great client of ours. And what they've done fantastically well is been able to disrupt a category and create something that was sedentary in caffeine and coffee right into something that is about uplifting mind and body. The next one is Apple, and obviously everyone that talks about Apple, Kelly talks about Apple, and she's telling me why I don't have one. And the story there, obviously a very ideals-driven brand, but here it's about the customer experience and how, if you were a management consultant advising these people, you would say you should never open stores, like that makes no sense. The inventory taken into that, the whole supply chain you need to really do it makes no sense. And yet, Apple understands that if you're about empowering people and self-expression, you need to have a physical space where people actually do that. And the last one is method, and Jim spoke about this again. What I love about this is that clients come to me and say, well, you know, these ideals are great for Red Bull and Apple and all of these great companies, but they're not for us. And I think method is the best example that shows that it's for everyone, because if you can disrupt the most mundane category, which is cleaning products, really you can do something great. And so that's what method did through design and through the focus of a healthy and healthy home. And they've been able to extend their brand extension, right, from cleaning products for the floor to face wash. No other brand, you know, think about it, could ever do that. So those are the examples I have.
So Mario, you're starting to get an idea and a feel for what the brands are doing differently. And I think what Mario and his organization can do is they are able not only to track and follow and see what's going on, they can hold these brands accountable. So can you share a little bit about how we're holding these brands accountable and how you see this changing going forward?
Yeah, so the way of doing that is really putting in the tools that you use to actually measure brands, put those specific elements, and we've worked with Jim to define those elements, to actually know if what you're doing internally is actually resonating externally. So there are programs that you can put in place to actually make sure that there's a consistency and alignment between how you live your purpose and what happens in the real world or in the outside world.
Great. So we're going to come back and talk a little bit about some of the secrets and what people need to do next with Mario. I want to go through to this slide. So Mario and Jim did a great job. This is a really tough, some people said the concept is too high, you know, it's too superficial. I want to nail the point. What is a purpose-driven brand? It activates higher ideals in everything it does. It builds a deeper relationship, and it inspires the desire to do something greater. It's that simple. It's not that hard to get started. And you can start to see the narrative unfold, which says, you saw in the video, functional brands in the 80s, businesses really focusing on performance, changing to higher ideals in the 90s and 2000s. And now you start to see that they really are delivering results. And we're very fortunate to have Kelly Monney with us. Kelly's been a business leader not only for a consultancy company, she's transitioning her agency from a leading digital company in North America to a full-size, full-resourced agency that is setting the pace in the industry. So I'd like to welcome Kelly and have her join the panel. So if you could please welcome her. So Kelly, let's jump in. What are the key factors that are influencing brands and business today that you're seeing?
Well, I mean, I think the whole purpose-driven trend is definitely starting to take effect. But I think the lens that I've also been looking through is really the impact of technology and the changing pace of technology, which is impacting consumers and how brands are building relationships with them. So one of the things I have been thinking quite a lot about, that I talk a lot about, a book that I wrote a handful of years ago, is really around building open brands. And it's really trying to help companies understand how to build their brand in this landscape that's changing so dramatically. So if you compare, if you go to the next slide, it's sort of, the way I think of brand building is sort of old world, new world. So on the right hand of that slide is closed branding, which is really how many successful brands have been built for the last 50 years. You can pick you know, all the famous ones that you know of, Nike, Starbucks, Disney, all the big ones have used P&G, have used those techniques of building, using mass media to create awareness, to communicate a message top down. And today's world is really saying no. Consumers want to be a part of something. They want to be included. They want to be pulled in. They want to be a part of something that's important. And so I call that open branding. And so I think the shifts from a marketer's day-to-day life is that we no longer just push ads out into the marketplace and expect them to work, but we have to think about how's our brand always on, and how's it always communicating, and how's it always adding value 24/7. I think also brands have been so used to doing these big launches where you push everything out on one day and ta-da, and that's really gone too, because that's not how you get people's attention, and the power and the importance of social media and other avenues to test and learn and to iterate. And I think most brand marketers were taught to perfect something before they put it in the marketplace and do it all at the same time and hope for a big bang. And I think that way of marketing is over.
So digital is just a piece of the puzzle, like you were saying, and I think you all have been out at the forefront of seeing that, but there is a much broader piece of this. Let's dig a little bit deeper into digital. Let's a little bit talk about that.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, some of the manifestations of that, I think, is, you know, some of the dimensions that I think of in building an open brand and the way digital plays a part of it is thinking about the dimensions of an experience a consumer wants to have with any business. One of those is being on demand and getting what we need right when we need it, real-time instantaneousness. That's what digital technology has brought into our culture. I think the other dimension is creating a more personalized experience, feeling like you're important, feeling like somebody knows you, feeling like your business is important versus just kind of one of the crowd. The other dimension, I think, is engagement and being interesting enough that somebody wants to spend time with you. You know, a lot of people say, how do I get more, traffic to my site? It's like, be more interesting. And then the idea of being networked is that people genuinely do want to be connected, sometimes to each other or to friends, to family, sometimes to strangers. That's why ratings and reviews are so important. We don't really have to know the person who rated the book that we might want to know about, but we do care about what other people think, and we want to be in a connected world. And so how do brands navigate those dimensions and create an experience that has those qualities? And they have business results attached to them. So it's not sort of like fluffy stuff. It's like driving sales and driving loyalty and creating advocacy for your business.
So I know you have some personal favorites that you'd like to share with us that go a little case study.
Yeah, I picked out a few examples that are some of my favorites. This one is just one I admire. I didn't have a hand in creating it, but I think that some of us were born after 1971, right? I know all the kids from DuPont and all of that, maybe not, but Coca-Cola was known for that, I'd like to teach the world to sing, that amazing song moment and creating happiness moments. And I think the way they took their higher ideals and their heritage and they translated it really successfully in the digital space. This is just one example where you can actually use an app to buy a complete stranger a Coca-Cola on the other side of the world, and it comes out through the machine. And so the connectivity and the generosity and the cool factor of creating happiness moments to a complete stranger, I think, is beautiful and an example of their purpose being manifested.